Not making a decision is still a decision. Hi, I am Dr. Ann Lewis, psychologist certified in personal training and nutrition with specializations in eating disorders and addiction. I have been studying and treating developmental trauma in the context of addictions for over 20 years. And what I want to talk with you today is something that is really profound and something that many of us do not realize. It's when you are not actively making a decision to move in a direction in your life, you are still making a decision. And often the decision that you're making is to say no to every other possibility out there. Ambivalence is going to wear you out faster than anything else. Your lack of making a proactive decision about your future, about what you want to do in your relationship, about what you want to do with your life, about what you want to do, even when it comes to food or how you exercise. That is actually the very reason why you are feeling overwhelmed and stuck. And the reason for that is that as human beings, we actually don't get to stay stable. What I mean by this is that when we stop working on things, we atrophy as human beings, psychologically, emotionally, mentally. We are no different than who we are as physical beings. When you go to the gym and you develop muscle or you get really, really good at something, one of the things that I like is I like to road bike. And I will go out and road bike when it's summertime and in the spring and fall a ton. And then in the winter, if I don't road bike, I am going to lose my capacity. I'm going to lose my endurance and I'm going to lose the amount of time I can be on the road when spring hits again. And that is because if we are not working those muscles out, if we are not practicing that cardiovascular health, what will happen is that I actually will begin to atrophy. Emotionally, we are doing the same things. In relationships, we also do the same thing. If you are not actively working on your relationship, if you're not putting in the time required, date nights, special moments, thoughtful text responses, loving comments, and loving interactions, and generous interactions with your partner, what's happening isn't that you're staying stable. You are actually moving backwards. You are actually atrophying your relationship. Emotionally, we are the same way as human beings. If you are not working on something emotionally, if you're not working on improving yourself, if you are not working on learning more about yourself or doing something new or cultivating new hobbies, new pastime, cultivating relationships, you are actually losing ground in life. And that is because everything in life requires practice and repetition. Everything in life requires us to be intentional and mindful about moving in the right direction. And for those of us that have hit middle age, please don't misunderstand me. I don't mean that every single time we have to be working on a PR when it comes to our physical well-being. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that we have to go to amazing new heights in a marriage where we're happy and we feel content. What I am saying simply is that we have to have a process involved emotionally, relationally, and physically, where we are showing up and we are mindful every single day about how we are engaging. And the only way that we do that is with intentionality. So here's what I want to invite you to today. First step is that I want you to actually cultivate a plan today, something that you would like to do that by the end of today, or at least by the end of the week, you would be proud of yourself. Sometimes what this might look like is something really small. It might look like you take a walk outside with your dogs, or you check in with one of your kids and you spend 15 minutes with them just asking about their day and loving on them. It does not have to be big. It could also be sending a text of gratitude towards a friend or towards a family member that you haven't talked to in a really long time. Those are ways that we show up with intentionality. The second step is that we need a plan or something bigger to do. If we are growing as human beings, if we're showing up at the gym and we're just kind of randomly working out, there isn't a plan involved. There's no method behind what we're trying to achieve or what it is that we're trying to grow. The same thing emotionally, if that we're actually not following something, it could be a book that you've purchased, it could be someone on TikTok or a podcast that you're following, different steps and different strategies for where it is that we want to go in life, then you will not be able to move in the direction that you want to actually go in. And that's because there is no goal, but there is no plan behind that goal. There is no process related thing. The third thing that we have to keep in mind is that consistency is key with everything. So a lot of us want the one and done phenomenon. I hear a lot of people, they come to therapy. I heard this just the other day from a client. She said, I've done 3 appointments. There have been some really good insights that we made and good progress, but nothing is working. Nothing is working. And so I asked her more about that. And as she was talking, she said, well, I'm still really anxious. And I said, tell me about that. And tell me about what happens in your brain when you get really anxious about this family member or really anxious about this situation. And so what she talked about was exactly what I was suspecting, which is that when she gets really anxious, she allows herself to go down the spiral. Now, it doesn't feel like we're allowing it. We don't want to be there. And I want to acknowledge that. You are not doing it on purpose. It is not your fault. However, it is your responsibility. And so when I say that, what I said to her is, well, what about those things that we talked about? What about the cognitive distortions and the refutations? What about sitting in the feelings and coaching yourself through those feelings and nurturing yourself and loving yourself and giving yourself those hopes? And one of the things that she said to me is she said, well, I don't, I did it once, I did it twice, it's not working. You're right. It's not working because you're not using it. So if you go to the gym and a personal trainer shows you all the moves to make at the gym and they give you the correct way to do it, and then you show up at the gym and you do half of what they did, or you race through the movements really fast because you just want to get it done and over with. I get you. I've been there. I live by that sometimes. What's happening though is that you're not actually following the plan. You are not practicing mindfulness and you're not engaged in the real process for cultivating that. So it isn't just simply that we have the insight to make the change, but rather that we actually follow the plan and then we stick to the plan. And we stick to the plan even when the plan gets kind of boring, even when the plan feels like it's not working, we still have to stick to the process. Because what I will say time and time again, and this is in addiction, this is in eating disorder recovery, this is in relationships, this is also in working out, and cultivating the body that we love, that everything will fall to our process. What I mean by that is all of these goals that we might have are wonderful and those are useful because it's great for us to know the direction that we want to move, to have a close and connected marriage, to be physically fit, to work on relationships inside of our family, to really even challenge bad habits and eating disorders or addictions. But the process will win every single time over the goal. And the reason for that is that if you cultivate a process with self-reflection, if you cultivate a process where there's intentionality behind it, if you cultivate a process where there's a stepwise thing that you're doing every single week and every single day that you're engaged in life. And I don't mean tedious, that will win out and get you to your goals faster than anything because it's easier to chip away at the process and get better and better at the process. Not perfect, I didn't say, better at the process, more consistent with the process, more mindful about the process. What will happen is that we'll get to the goal by default because we're fine tuning the process by which to get there. If this is helpful, give me a like, follow me, or subscribe for more.